Good evening, Kenton community. My name is Sabatino Samato. I'm your superintendent, and this is your weekly connection update. I really encourage you to take a look at the connection this week. First, of course, we have the update from the superintendent. That's the first section, and I'm going to talk about that pretty in depth in just one moment. Then we have our Celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, our weekly piece on safety tip for families, school and district highlights. We always have that in there, some new ones this week. And finally, we finish off with our recognition. So let's get going. Folks, first, let me just say, the video part of our connection this week under this first part is extremely important because I want to dig a little bit deeper into my connection with parents at this moment. As a parent to a parent, as a superintendent to a parent, we are always, it's going to take all of us to always educate and raise our children together. And we're trying to do the best job that we can for our families. And I talked about this last week, and it's really talking about kiddos making good decisions. And folks, we're talking about all the way from pre-K through 12th grade. 2023, this day and age, is a very challenging time. You know, when we were kiddos, we used to be able to possibly have some problems that we had during the day, and when we would go home, we would get away from those problems. Or if we had a problem at home, or when we came to school, we got to get away from that problem a little bit, and we had this pretty equal balance in our lives, and we, of course, had people around us helping us every day. In today's day and age, it's really important that we all focus of why it's going to take all of us, because kiddos are faced with it all the time, from all angles. There is no rest from the stress of growing up in today's day and age. And we're seeing evidence of this. We're seeing evidence of individual things potentially happening at school. Now, let me be clear, before I even go into the evidence, I want to be clear. Our kiddos do an amazing job. They are great young people. It shows in everything they do every day. But it only takes one situation for any of our kiddos to really take things off track for that individual for a long period of time. So let's get into some evidence once again. We see individual kiddos sometimes having some conflict. We see groups of students sometimes having some conflict. We see something that could happen on social media, and it could happen months ago, find its way back into our school situation or our home situation, creating conflict. So what I mean about these conversations, we have to have them all the time, and talk to our kids about absolutely not being baited, not letting tempers take over us, always trying to do the right thing, even when others aren't doing the right thing. And I know this sounds very much like I'm preaching and getting back to the basics, because that's exactly what I'm doing. There's a lot of this that we need to realize as a community, that this is what we are doing today to raise our kiddos and to support our families, because it is just as much our responsibility as a school district as it is your responsibility at home. And only together will we make this headway with all of our children, Some children that are doing it better than others, let's use them and have them talk to them about talking to other students, about how they get through, how they're not baited, how they don't resort to any violence, how they don't say things that probably they really don't mean, or type things, because it's so much easier to type things and then create a bigger problem than it is to have a conversation face to face. And I really want to encourage us to come back to the basics with this. Everything from personal goals to team goals to our goal as a community to really focus on this and bring our kiddos through this strange this strange times. And folks, our kiddos see it from everywhere, from video games to music, from social media to something that they see randomly on the street walking home from school. They are exposed to so much more than we were when we were younger. And it really is a great time. I know we do it all the time, but it's a great time that we focus even more on our partnership and where we want to bring this work together. So I thank all of our families very much for all of your support. We really thank you as a school district. Our teachers, our staff are doing an amazing job. You're doing an amazing job at home. And let's just see what we can't continue to do together. And it starts with those individual conversations. So thank you very much for your attention with that. Speaking of expectations, then the next little section is from the update from the superintendent. Chromebook use and care. And folks, expectations for our care of Chromebooks are no different than what they used to be when we had textbooks for everything. That absolutely is a student's responsibility, the care of that device. Now, folks, they are expensive to fix, especially from damage that could have been avoided. If they're lost, if they're stolen, we do offer, I want to just be clear, we do offer a $25 annual insurance that covers a lot of things for those Chromebooks. So that section just talks about that a little bit and points you to a website for a little bit more direction. And our next section, celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, celebrating a local, many people would call him a local hero, Mr. Casimiro Rodriguez. And there's such a nice piece here about Cas Rodriguez in our update. I really encourage you to check that out. The founder of the Hispanic Heritage Council. Cas, thank you for all that you do for our community. Our next section is safety tips for families, and this week we focus on Snapchat and just talking about the ins and outs of Snapchat to make sure parents are educated on it, and there's a little link in there too about Snapchat. Then we move to school and district highlights. Kenmore West Jr. named to NISFA Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Tickets on sale for Kenmore West Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Big Picture 11th grader performs in production of What the Constitution Means to Me. Families attend open house events. Students celebrate Johnny Appleseed Day. Ken West Earth Science classes study Lake Nyos disaster. And finally, Holmes Elementary celebrates first Step It Up Parade. And finally, we get to our recognition. And our recognition, of course, this week is our buildings and grounds staff. Monday, October 2nd is National Custodian Appreciation Day, and we use this day to celebrate the amazing work of our B&G staff led by Director Tim Ames. I really encourage everyone to look at that section. And folks, I've said it before, I'll say it again. What I love about our B&G staff is they are the support of the entire district. They are always the people working behind the scenes. You don't see them front and center typically. You see them behind the scenes doing everything they can to make sure that everything is great for our district staff and kiddos on a daily basis. So wonderful job to our buildings and grounds staff. Take a look at that piece. And that brings us to the end of the connection. And folks, it's been a great September, and we've had some hiccups together. What's wonderful about working with kids is that there is always time to rebound. You know, I used to say when I was a principal to all my kiddos, take your medicine. Sometimes you just take your medicine and you do that to get better, and then we move on and we're all better together. And that's what I want us to continue to focus on, as I mentioned earlier in this connection. Work on, even when kids are great, we can always be better, because together we will be Kenton strong. Absolutely, that is the pride that makes us Kenton, and together we'll move Kenton forward. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Have a wonderful weekend. Squish the fish.